Hi and good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Guru Live 2020 session on your TV career. My name is Sarah Pott, and I run Sarah Pott Associates, which is an agency for behind the camera talent. We're absolutely I'll put my teeth in, we're absolutely delighted to be sponsoring this session this evening because our work is all about nurturing talent, and that is what we're going to talk about with these fantastic speakers here is, freelance careers, freelance talent, and, hopefully you will all go away with some practical advice and some practical tips from these industry luminaries. So without further ado, let me introduce my guests. And if you can just kind of wave as I say your name. First of all, we have Adil Amini, who is a TV producer with credits such as 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And Adil is also the founder of the TV Mindset, and has spent the last few months as possibly one of the busiest men in television, working tirelessly to support the freelance community, and has also now founded the Coalition for Change, also working on behalf of freelancers. Next, we have Harjeet Chokar, who is based up in Leeds and is the commissioning editor for documentaries and specialist factual for Channel 4. David Davis is over in Cardiff, I believe, and David is an executive producer at Bad Wolf, and his credits include Industry, Electric Dreams, and Doctor Who. And last but very much not least, we have Hattie Wood, who is joint head of talent at 2020 and Wall to Wall. Her previous credits from her previous incarnation as a producer include Glow Up, Britain's Next Makeup Star, and First Dates. And I think, Hattie, you're at least part of the time based down in Bristol, is that right?
Yes, we crew up for Wall to Wall in Bristol and some 2020 productions there too.
Brilliant. So we've got a good regional perspective from all different parts of the country, which is fantastic. So a little bit of just housekeeping, just to let everybody know that closed captioning is available for anybody who requires it. So let's kick off, if we might, with just talking about what filming looks like, what production looks and feels like in this sort of COVID-19 world we're all living in. David, how are things from the scripted perspective?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like most of the arts, our sector's taken a bit of a hit. We are just about back up and running. Some of the soaps kind of did it first. At Bad Wolf, we have a production that's back up and running now, called A Discovery of Witches. And of course, like it's really tough. Like when you come to filming drama, especially, you're used to working with crews of like 100+ people and all of the actors. So there's had to be a lot of provisions that we've had to put in place. We've got regular testing. I think it's like 2 times a week for all of the cast. All of the different crews are forming bubbles. So that you've got, the sound department have a bubble, the makeup costume teams have bubbles, so that if one bubble goes down, you can try to bring in somebody else to fill the shoes. Obviously, just trying to keep across what freelancers are aware. It's not as easy as we might want it to be. But in terms of what it means for like the junior members of the crew, I mean, it is good to be able to say that we still do have our makeup costume trainees, the sound trainee, we still have like our assistant script editors and people like that. So there are still the junior positions, available out there, but people are just working, a lot more remotely. The script editors aren't on set in a way that they might normally be. So we have our challenges for sure, but we're getting through it.
Brilliant. That sounds pretty positive. Harjeet, I believe you've got about 6 shows filming. Is that right? How's it going from your perspective?
Kind of echoing what David said, really. It's been challenging, and I think everybody's had to think, really calmly and collectively, and actually, but at the same time, we've been trying to get stuff made, and I've been really lucky, managed to get some commissions through, which have been all across the country, and we've made them throughout the first lockdown 1 and still, you know, carrying on through lockdown 2. And again, we've had to work really closely with the production companies and you know, everyone from the lawyers to production management right through to our health and safety kind of guru in Channel 4 called James Brabazon, who's been going through all protocols in terms of filming and risk assessment. So it's been, you know, it's been quite intense in that sense, but I think it's needed because we want everyone's health and safety is paramount, right? And that's, you know, we have to always remember that, you know, that's really important to make sure we would never want to put anyone in danger or any contributors in danger. But one thing it's shown, I think, is how important, I work in factual, so how important documentaries have been in this time to get stuff out, you know, get programs out that tell the story of, you know, everyday people about how they've coped during, you know, what has been an incredibly horrible time for everyone. But, you know, for us, it's meant thinking creatively. Echoing David again, it might mean that we only have two people on a shoot rather than say 3. You know, it means you don't film indoors all the time. You think creatively how you shoot interviews. It's been really, it's been a real time, I think, for everyone to kind of almost rethink how they think of making programs, right? We've almost had to think it's like learning from scratch again, but it's meant being really collaborative. It's meant being really open and, you know, being part of those discussions early on, and everybody working to the same goal, which is try and get a program onto television.
Yeah, brilliant. That's I think a lot of people's experience. The words that I'm hearing a lot as an agent are words like intense, that it is an intense experience. Adil, you've been there at the sharp end whilst doing everything else as well. How has it felt for you from that kind of front line of being out there in production?
Really similar to what Haji and David have been saying, really, in terms of, you know, obviously there's a lot of protocols in there, but I think what I'd probably touch on a little bit more, especially for the people who are here watching today, is more the culture, really. And that is, I mean, one of the things that I step back and look at, I work in entertainment, and the truth is, I mean, it's quite a busy time out there. And I'm really proud of this industry. You know, we've had it pretty difficult this year on a lot of fronts, especially with, like, you know, government support and other things, but we've managed to pull through that and make programs. I've been really lucky. I've done Catchphrase, just done a new daytime quiz show for ITV in Manchester, currently on Family Fortune. So production is happening. It's out there. We're doing it in a different way, but we're doing it in you know, we're still out there trying to entertain people. And I think, well, I'm just really proud of this industry. You know, it's not, you would think that, you know, this might, you know, incapacitate us a little bit, but the truth is that this industry is still thriving, and it's a really good thing to see.
Yeah, I think it has risen to the challenge in many ways. And, you know, that what Haji was saying about creativity, the creativity of the freelance community has really come to the fore, hasn't it? I mean, Hattie, for you in crewing up various shows, have things changed? Has how you crew those shows altered? What's looking different for you?
I don't think how they're crewed has changed, apart from obviously interviews are all on Zoom now, and so that's the main difference, isn't it? But I think that the big positive for me to come out of it all is more freedom and flexibility with who we can put forward, because it doesn't matter where you are. So, you know, when I was finding extra casting people for first dates, for example, it didn't matter where in the country they were. And before, we would have had them in Bristol or London, or, you know, because all the team have to be together. And, it, you know, so I think there's more freedom, if anything. And the same with, if we're to take anything out of this, it's the, like, sort of amazing thing that whole edits can be done from home and with 2 people in completely different. I know that's not ideal, especially for new commissions and new shows, but on returning series, I think that's amazing, and that gives so much more flexibility. You know, when I was a working mum trying to edit produce, I thought, I can't do this, and now I sort of think, well, actually it wouldn't now be out of the question for me to say, well, can I do half of it from home? That must be amazing if you're an edit producer with little kids or other commitments.
Yeah.
So that's the positive for me to come out of it.
As somebody who job shares yourself, do you think it's also altered the view of job sharing? Do you think it's increasing the popularity of job sharing at all?
I think time will tell on that front. I don't know. I think the job sharing things, there's still quite a blocker on certain roles. Like I think if, you know, I think production management, like PMs and coordinators, it works quite well. And I think in the edit, it's becoming a little bit more kind of accepted. I think the PD role, I don't know many commissioners and who are kind of on board in the same way, but I think with any kind of flexible working now, everyone's more open-minded. It used to be, you know, that you cannot achieve this if your team aren't together, or you can't do this unless you're with your editor, and that's all been thrown up, and we've been shown we can do anything. But yeah, Harji, you might want to speak on that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, do you know, I was going to echo what you said, Hattie, which is I think a lot of old thinking's kind of been destroyed, right? I think television sometimes does have a habit of going, well, this is how we always do it, and we're going to do it like that. And actually, I think those notions have gone. You know, like you said, you don't have to be in London to cast First Dates anymore, or Bristol. You know, you can be anywhere. Or, you know, why shouldn't we hire that PD just because, you know, they might not have the same credits? I had that on two of my productions actually. We, you know, and both of them were, for me, it was really important because of the topic and they were quite different. One's a specialist factual documentary, and the other one was a music show which I inherited. But both of them we had. You know, we made a point of having. I really wanted diverse PDs on them because of the subject matter, and we did it. You know, there was, and I think actually there was no. I think those old notions of going, well, what about this, or have they done enough of this, or have they done, you know, have they got enough credits? Whilst sometimes those questions are legitimate, I think also now we're a bit like, well, why not, right? Because I think the way we work has changed. You know what I mean? We've spent so much time at home. And, you know, echoing the deal, which is we've survived, right? We've persevered, and yeah, it's been so hard. And by no degrees of the imagination am I ever going to, you know, kind of try and soften how tough it's been for people, because it has been tough. It's been really tough. But, you know, we are still making programs, and we're still trying to, you know, and I think now's the time to be able to say, well, let's give somebody a break, or let's try something different, because if we can't do it now, when are we going to do it, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And picking up on what Hattie said about kind of the breakdown of certain barriers, geographical accessibility. David, in the scripted world, you know, do you feel that people are more accessible to certainly like newer freelancers, and how would you suggest, you know, in a world where there are far fewer, in fact at the moment no physical networking events or ways of meeting people, but obviously we can, and we have all been doing it on Zoom, have you any sort of suggestions as to how people should try and move that part of their career portfolio forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think, and I think actually Hattie was saying it herself, in terms of the one positive that, if there are positives that have come out of this whole situation, is that we are all a lot closer. We're not, there is no barrier in distance between us. So I find myself, like, I have these virtual coffees with people a lot more than I was doing before, because I'm not worried about making somebody travel 200 miles on a train for a speculative meeting, you know. So it's like I can find 50 minutes in my day because it will be done via Zoom. And so we are, like, I do think that this is an opportunity for people to be contacting, you know, people like myself, you know, the great people on this panel, and just asking for, you know, 10 minutes of their time for a Zoom chat. And, you know, usual ways of doing it, finding people's email addresses. Like, I get contacted through LinkedIn a bit, and like I try, you know, I get contacted a lot, but I try to meet as many different people as I possibly can, and just to give them the advice. And can I
just interrupt and ask, David, when they're contacting you, be that via email or LinkedIn, what could for you be that sort of, knowing that you have still only got so many hours in a day, the ones that really kind of hook you in to say, yes, is it about them being clear in their ask? Is it about the tone? What's it about in that approach?
I mean, everybody is, everybody is different. It's the things within the email or the LinkedIn that really prick your ears up. Like, it's good for me if they are aware of the things that I've actually done, so it doesn't feel so generic in terms of their approach. To have seen my CV or whatever it is, to look at my credits and to be like, you worked on that show, or you've worked with that director, or you've worked with this writer. I would love to just be able to pick your brains, about that. So I think that the more, and this is true of before COVID times, it's the more specific that you can be in your ask, the better it is, I think, and the more inclined I would be to give that person some time.
Brilliant. And Adil, as somebody who's been on Zoom a great deal, have you got any specific tips? Because Zoom it's a weird, and it's becoming way less alien now, but it is per se a weird and alien environment. And if you're there as this sort of young freelancer about to have a conversation with a Harjeet or a David or a Hattie, from your perspective, what tips might you have for kind of networking in the Zoom world?
I think it would be the same as what I would say in the non-Zoom world as well, which is authenticity. I am 100% going to resonate with somebody who is being themselves and being honest about what they want, what they perhaps want from their career, what they want from me, rather than pretending to be something that they think that I would want, because you will see through that. We work with people every single day. We'll see through that straight away. And also, I would want to give people the reassurance that, this industry is changing a lot. And I would say even in the space of a year, the makeup of this industry and the way it operates and the conversations that we're having are so different now that I believe that, it is down to those authentic new voices that will keep this industry alive and sustained, because clearly the old methods weren't working, and we do need a lot of diverse voices. Look, the people in this room, no offense to anyone here, we're not going to be here forever. We're not going to, it is down to us passing baton onto the people, for example, on this call. And, we want to, we're from all over the place. I'm based in Bradford right now doing a lot of the shows remotely, and, I have no TV connections or anything. And I still find it remarkable that I'm here. I'm like, what am I doing here? How did I get here? But I think this industry does eventually reward that authenticity, and I think certainly the people in this room, but we are looking out for that, I think, because that's what we want this industry to be.
Brilliant.
I'm also from Bradford, Adil. I'm also from Bradford. So there's two of us from Bradford who work in TV.
That's such a regional angle. I'm loving it.
And that is so true, actually. I think, when I started in telly, fucking hell, how long? 2002, right? And I didn't know anyone from Bradford in TV, and everybody who I did know went to Bradford Grammar, and I didn't go to fucking Bradford Grammar, right? And there was no one like me. I didn't know anyone I didn't even know any Northerners when I moved down to London to work in telly, right? And I think one of the great things about Zoom is it's a massive leveler, right? It's a leveler. We're all the same, right? And like you said, we don't have to, TV is all about working with each other, right? And it doesn't matter if you're a commissioning editor or a runner, you are genuinely, and I know it sounds quite corny, you are genuinely part of a team, and you have to make a program together. No one person makes a TV program. It is a massive team effort. And if you're all working on Zoom now, which is, for the foreseeable future, I think if anything, it just highlights how important every single role really is. You know what I mean? And I didn't really know that when I was progressing through. When I started off as a runner, I didn't know that. I think one of the things that I think is really great about what has happened is the fact that those conversations have been starting. And I take my hat off to Adil with what he's done, and talking about mental health. I think no one ever spoke about that 10, 15 years ago. Those same issues still were there, but no one ever talked about it for that. And I think because of those conversations, this industry will change, and it will change brilliantly, because it will be, it will be a lot more open. It will be a lot more inclusive. I think, for all those good things about our industry, because there are so many good things about it, will kind of be pushed up a bit. Do you know what I mean? Because I think we as individuals will know our worth a bit more, I think, which is really, I think is really important. Really important.
I think that is incredibly true. And Hattie, for you, you know, and I'm sure you're dealing all the time with talent at all different levels, with young freelancers kind of near to the beginning of their journey. What sort of advice would you give in the current climate? Do you think there are ways in which they can make themselves feel more confident about the industry they're joining? Are there things that they can be doing to really help themselves at this time?
I think that actually at its heart, nothing's changed in the way that we need to find new talent. I think, yes, it's not ideal being on Zoom, but that is what we have to do, and we're doing it. So if somebody emails me and I like the look of them and they've got, you know, some sort of potential there, then I would have got them in for a chat before, and now we'll do it on Zoom. And all my fellow talent managers are doing that. So I would say that weirdly I've sort of picked up, I don't know if this is entry with more experienced people, but I've sort of almost picked up a slight reticence from freelancers to email talent managers at the minute, because I think sometimes there's a bit of a vibe in the industry of like, oh, there's nothing around and it's all locked down and nothing's happening.
And our CV will just go, I hear this from the people I represent.
Yeah, and actually I'm like, no, please.
Vortex.
Yeah, please do. Or some freelancers think we're somehow really flooded with emails and therefore there's no point in them emailing. But actually that's not true. I would just pursue as you would have done before, just get that big list of contacts, find all those indies, find all those talent managers, find all the, if there's no talent manager, a head of production or an exec, a series producer, watch, write down who's making what, just keep going as you would have done. Because I need people to come in my inbox in the right moment when I need runner. You know, we need like runners on Glow Up and runners on First Dates and junior researchers on other shows. You know, it's all still happening. So I think it's hard that there's not network events, and I think we do need to be more mindful of new entrants into TV in terms of looking after them, and it is harder when you're not in an office, and of course you're not going to suck up all of that knowledge of being in the office together and all of that, so that is harder. But I think in terms of pursuing your career, just do as you would have done before. And I just want to echo what Adil said, which is I think we do really value authenticity, because I meet a lot of people who sort of halfway through the chat say that they want to do drama, and that's fine, but they've kind of been pretending they want to do factual, and it's like, you don't just go and pursue drama. Like I think I really feel for entry-level people who have no idea where they want to be, and I do understand that. But I think my one tip would be, if you're contacting drama companies, just go with drama. Be like, right, drama's my passion, I love this that you make. Or if you're contacting me, it's factual, you love our shows, kind of thing, and that will get you further. And I know it's really hard sometimes to know where you want to go, and you just think, I want to do anything, but actually your voice will sort of slightly get lost. So I think when you're contacting a company, try and be really passionate about what it is. Sorry, I think it was David who was saying that, wasn't it? Like, be quite specific. That will get you further than just generic, I want to be in media.
And one question I get asked a lot is how often, with a talent manager, how often should a freelancer be in contact?
It's so hard to know that, isn't it? I know, and I can never, it's like, how long's a piece of string? I can never give an answer. But all I say is that I think in my whole experience, there's like 2 freelancers that slightly irritate me with how much they contact me. Apart from that,
you will not name them.
Not name them. No, I mean, but it's a bit like, oh, right, you again. So you know, it's really, I think it's actually quite hard to get it wrong. I think because we do get a lot of emails and stuff happens, and I think for the freelancer, they're overthinking it. It's like, oh, but I emailed them 7 days ago or 2 weeks ago, and is that too much, blah, blah, blah. But in between when you last emailed, loads of stuff's happened and new roles have come in. So actually your second time of emailing somebody 6 weeks later may be the perfect time, and before it just wasn't. So it's really hard. There is no right or wrong. Obviously, don't email like literally every single week if nothing's changed or you don't have anything new to say.
So it's update and change, and when you've got something
Yeah, but if your dates change, if there's anything different, just drop us a line, please. I really encourage freelancers to drop us a line. I spoke to another freelancer this morning who's like, I think I might be bothering you, and it's like, no, like, we need to find these people. I've got all these jobs to fill, and I need freelancers to come to us. And obviously we go out searching, but I get people who are like, oh, I'm so glad you found me. I've always wanted to work on first dates. I'm like, well, why didn't you email me? So please, freelancers and anyone wanting to get an interview, just do reach out. Definitely do email. And I can't give an answer on how often you should do it. It's really hard to say. But
do you know, I really empathize with that, because I was a freelancer for decades, right? And in fact, I probably
you were one of them, actually. Hardy.
Yeah, I used to hassle Hattie all the time.
It was way too much.
I used to hassle her all the time. No, but it is true, and I completely empathize. But actually, I think Hattie's right. We overthink it. We're nervous. We don't want to appear needy. We don't want to appear like we're begging for a job. But I think sometimes you really got to silence those doubts. And actually, you do have to put yourself out there. And it is, I used to hate it, and I used to. And I used to set myself goals that as long as I sent 10 emails a day or 15 emails a day, then I felt like I'd done it, because it is, you don't want to be that person that goes, oh, hi. But the other thing you should remember is like you said, when I was a series producer, trying to crew up was so difficult, and I'd be hassling the talent manager in the company for the other reason, going, can you get me someone? And actually they, that's what that's their job, but actually, some of the best ones, like yourself, Hattie, they thrive off meeting new people, and it's exciting when you get a new runner or an AP, and you should just think, I could be that person, and there's absolutely no harm in it, shame in it, or nothing wrong with it, because that's what we all do, right? That's what it's about. And sometimes it is just about you getting that email at that right time, when you're looking for that person.
Freelancers, the programs won't get made, and
we wouldn't be sat here. We would not be sat. They're the lifeblood of our industry, right? And and not just all freelancers, but definitely the new intake, because they're going to be sat in my chair like in years to come time, and they'll be doing this again, and it is paying it forward, as we said earlier. It's so important. All those doubts, all those questions about, oh, I don't know, what should I do, just silence them. It's as hard as it is. I used to just go, no, it's an email, I'm just going to send it, and then you panic because you put a spelling mistake in the first line, and then you go,
I think that does lead very nicely back to Adil, and you had your hand up anyway, Adil, but to kind of focus in a little on the stresses of doing that, stresses of all of this overthinking and worrying, and it being your livelihood, and how one can kind of look after one's own mental health on that journey, and protect oneself, because everybody talks about resilience as if you can kind of go and buy it in Sainsbury's. Oh, just be resilient. But it's how you can help yourself in that way.
I think it does lead very nicely actually to what I had my hand up for, which was to say that in all of this, I'm sure again everyone in this room will agree, is that no one really taught us any of this. We sort of learned it as we went along. And I am 100% sure, and I rarely say that about anything, but I'm 100% sure that whatever you're thinking, whatever you're going through, there is somebody in this industry, either at your level or a higher level, that has gone through the same. So all you need to do is just reach out to one of us, whether that's, to me, or, my socials are all open, or, anyone in the industry, someone there's so many groups. I think one of the things that we need to, take stock of at the minute is that even though we have gone through this crisis, I feel like the freelance workforce especially is more connected than ever before. And we should take advantage of that. People are standing up and speaking out, and also just being there for each other. There's so many amazing groups out there, some that have formed, through this process. For example, there's a group out there specifically for disabled people in TV, which didn't exist, I think, a year or two ago. So wherever you find yourself, whether it's, you've got a mental health issue, for example, me, I'm really open about my diagnosis with borderline personality disorder and having to go to therapy while doing this, intense job. But it is possible. That's the thing, is that, whatever you are going through, there is a way to make it work. And we are doing whatever we can. No one's expecting people from, who are starting out in their career to either know all of this or try and deal with it. But there are people and resources out there that are going to make your life easier. So please use them, reach out to us, join the groups, and hopefully we can get through it all together and make this industry, rebuild it in the way that we want. And that's a way that's, acceptable for everyone.
Yeah, I'd
just like to add as well that not to be deterred by silence, because I remember one of the first jobs that I got in drama. Like, I used to email one of the execs at the company. Like, I mean, I would try to keep it respectful. Like, I would do it like once a month, once a couple of months. Like Hattie was saying, it's difficult to actually say what is respectful, because every single person will find something, a slightly different time frame, as being respectable. But like, I would hear nothing. I heard nothing for like 6 months, 7 months. And then just one time I sent another one. And that same day, that exec got back to me and was like, I've actually just got an opening that's just come across my desk like, in the last hour. Will you come and have a meeting about it? Had the meeting and I got the job. And it was just about having that persistence to just to keep going. And similarly, like on the other side, I received, like, I think it was like an email. So the person had actually, you know, taken the time to look at the company website and to like guess my email address or whatever, and emailed me. And then like a month later, I had like a LinkedIn, and I could remember tracing it all back. I was still a little bit busy, and like I still didn't have the time to come back to them. And then, like, I think I posted something on Instagram about my show that was about to air, and one of the reviews that we got, or something like that. And then they just messaged me. They were like, look, I absolutely love the look of this show. Like, I know I'm messaging you via Instagram. It's probably not the done thing, but I just want you to know that I really want to have a chat with you just to talk about your career. And it was like, on that third attempt, it was very specific to something that I was doing right now. I ended up getting back to them, and, you know, we had that chat, and, you know, their CVs filed for future use.
Brilliant. And actually, you've just done it again in a almost like a local radio link. You've sort of mentioned, brought in social media, and kind of what is the role for you guys, and do you think for employers generally, of social media, of kind of having a presence on the internet from young freelancers? Be that because, you know, I'm certainly aware a lot of young freelancers obsess about their website, about how they're presenting a show reel. You know, how important are those things to you guys, and how much do you use them? David, do you want to kind of follow up on what you were saying about Instagram?
Yeah, I think it's really good to have some sort of a presence on socials. I mean, for me, like, especially within scripted, and because like I focus predominantly on scripts as well, that was the route that I came up in. I was like a script editor, and now I'm a script focused EP. So I'm less I'm less bothered about whether they've got a website of their own, because their show reel, it doesn't really tell the story of the work that they've done. But they should definitely be keeping their IMDb up to date. They should definitely be keeping their LinkedIn up to date. These are the things, if I get an email from somebody, you know, they're the first two things that I will look at to see who it is and what they're about. So for me, it's those two sites really above all else, although I could imagine some of the others might have a slightly different view on that.
Harjeet, what would you say in the social media?
I mean, I'm a Luddite, right? I'm not on any kind of social media whatsoever, just because I just thought I was really funny on Facebook and I wasn't. So I kind of ended my whole I'm not on any socials. And I think obviously when I was a series producer and people would send me their CVs and they had a website, of course I went on it. But ultimately, for me, it's about their CV. I can always tell what people have worked on, because our industry, if you're in factual, fact-end, or entertainment or drama, you're kind of going to know what those shows are they've worked on, and you probably know some of the people that worked on those programs. And then you can always, if they have got a show reel, of course I'll have a look at it. But for me, I think it's something more about, for me, it's the CV, what they worked on, and also, like you said, in that, do they want to, if you're doing series 2 or 3 or something, do they know about the program? Do they want to work on it? And why do they want to work on it? For me, that's why I wouldn't look on someone's Twitter page or their Instagram page. But I would want to know why they're wanting to work on something, more importantly, for me anyway. And like I said, our industry is quite small, so you will end up always knowing somebody who might know that person. So I just think that's where the authenticity comes through, right? If you get a feel for someone, you're going to go and ask for references. You're going to ask how they are. So then I think those are the things that matter to me, really.
Brilliant. And Hattie, in sort of looking at on social media or on the CV. What's the balance for you, particularly more junior members of teams, between those sort of core technical skills and the soft skills, those sort of personality traits?
I think I was about to say actually that on an entry-level CV, it's really nice to see anything about anything that anyone else does, whether they've volunteered, whether they've been a carer, whether they've done teaching, whether they have done music. I mean, when we grew up Gareth Malone stuff, he wants his whole team to have a musical ear, because when he's not there, they can spot talent. And that's from the runners and researchers up. And so it's so nice to see if someone has a music background or anything like that. And I remember I used to crop the Undateables, and I remember there was a sort of a junior researcher, and he'd kept on his CV that he had experience working with disabled kids. And so obviously then for the Undateables, you think, well, he's got a relevant background, and that really added to his skill set. So I think I meet a lot of entry-level people who sort of think, oh, I don't have a CV, and I think everyone has a CV in them, and I know they're hard to put together, but don't worry too much if you don't have the credits yet or anything. Just pull together you on a page if you can somehow. I mean, even if it's like working in Costa or Sainsbury's or whatever, I think there's just all those soft skills are what you need in telly, and the technical stuff will come. I mean, it appalls me when I see like shooting runner roles. I'm like, what? How can you expect runners to be shooting for broadcast? Like, that's crazy. So, you know, I hope that's not the way we're going. But, you know, obviously, if you've got technical skills from, say, university or whatever, or doing a college course or whatever, then that's brilliant. But I would say the kind of soft skills are the most important thing to kind of get across.
And therefore,
if people might disagree, but that's.
And so what you're saying as well is, don't forget those transferable skills. Those
transferable skills. Sorry, yes, transferable skills. Really, transferable skills. Where you're based and where you could be based. Whether you can drive, and obviously if you can't, it doesn't matter. But there are certain roles which need it, and that's kind of it. Really, I don't look at people's social media. We use kind of. I mean, I find talent in loads of different ways. So it might be through social media, but I wouldn't, if I found someone's CV, I wouldn't then be looking them up. I would just look at their CV.
Yeah. Their CV. Interesting. And David, if I can come back to you, because, you know, one of the differences that COVID has made is there's been that, as a result of it, way less on-set training, work experience, shadowing, sort of getting that on-set experience. And so one could argue that in some ways a whole year of talent development, both in scripted and non-scripted, really has been lost for that generation entering the industry. Are there now those opportunities coming back? Where might you suggest in the scripted world people could find those opportunities to develop those skills?
So, and I sort of touched on this earlier, really. I think that the industry stopped for everybody. So it didn't matter whether you were entry level or, you know, Steven Spielberg, like you weren't working. But now productions are getting back up and running, and, you know, the way that we do it, like actually what you find is, and that shooting runner thing kind of scared me as well. Like I did a lot of work in sort of not in non-scripted, but like what you do find is that the trainee roles and the junior roles are actually essential to making the show. So as we are up and running, you know, like I say, like the makeup trainee and the costume trainee and the clapper loader, if you're working in camera, the assistant script editor, like we need those roles, and as we are getting back up and on our feet, those opportunities are arising again. And, you know, I was in post through most of this year. We were lucky enough that we had wrapped the show at Christmas, so we were doing post, and so it meant that like our edit assistants, I don't even know. I was going to say we had 2 edit assistants, and I was going to say they were located. I don't even know where they lived. I just know that they weren't anywhere near like the Cardiff vicinity, and we shipped out the equipment to their houses. The editors were working remotely as well. So there were opportunities there that meant that, you know, people didn't need to relocate to Cardiff, to London, to wherever it is that the place might be. So, you know, actually, that was probably like another positive that really came out of it, that it gave people, you know, an opportunity. Unfortunately, because there was no sort of base, you know, it means that the most junior of roles, in terms of like maybe a runner or something, you know, that's looking after the building that we're all located in, because we weren't all located in a building, like that role didn't exist through the post system. But the post house that we're using at the moment is sort of back up and running now, and, you know, they've got all their runners and things like that back in. So yeah, the opportunities are there for our junior members of the team, and, you know, we need them, quite frankly. So people should be getting in contact.
And in terms of the audience here this evening, have you any sort of suggestions as to how people can best position themselves to access those roles when they come up? Is that through the different departments? Is it through, you know, for you guys, is it through Bad Wolf? You know, what are the channels into those junior roles, do you think?
So, I mean, at Bad Wolf, actually, we are like, I you know, I'm very, very, very pro the level of the playing field for the industry. I think that, you know, the coffee shop interview has homogenized the industry in a way that I don't think is helpful. And I'm glad that at Bad Wolf we use a company called Screen Alliance Wales. And so we advertise all of our jobs through there, and they make it their work to reach out to disadvantaged areas of Wales, and to try and pull people into the TV industry who might not normally get there. So, you know, looking out for, you know, those sorts of websites, you know, the Screen Alliance Wales, you know, like Talent Circle and those sorts of places that I think more and more production companies are using, which is a great thing. But it's all the same. Like, I think still the best methods are the methods that were the ones that I think we were probably all using on this panel, which was like just emailing people and pestering people and not being afraid to pester, until you get somebody saying, stop pestering me, you're not pestering them enough. Did I say that out loud?
And Adil, from your work, you know, your work over the last few months, particularly with the freelance community, are there websites, are there, you know, places, organizations that you think are particularly helpful in this space of kind of nurturing particularly junior freelance talent?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I know it's not the considered the most ethical platform, but at the minute Facebook is quite a good hotbed of resources and activity. I think it's a really good place to start for new talent. And depending on what department you know you're trying to get through, you know, there's a variety of places. We've done a lot of new talent webinars and talent manager forums. Hattie's been on one of them as well. And, you know, they're always available to watch back and, you know, just see what you can glean from them. There's a lot of webinars out there. I know Screen Skills have done a lot of courses. Sarah, I know you've done a lot of webinars as well. BAFTA doing some great work at the minute. I know the BFI is starting as well. Right now they've got they're looking for script editors on a junior level as well. So at the minute, there's a lot of stuff out there. It is, and I think social media, just going back to that point, actually, social media is really helpful on that front, is just to sort of stay connected and be aware of what's going on. A lot of job opportunities come up through there. You know, there's various talent pools, regional talent pools, you know, wherever you are, there's scripted ones, non-scripted, runner pools. They're all out there. It's just a question of finding them. I know that, you know, we are working with a few people to sort of unify all of these so that you almost get like an industry guidebook when you get in. It's still a work in progress, but it's hopefully on the way.
Yeah. And Haji, have you thoughts on this in terms of where you guys go, if there's parties or organizations that you work through when recruiting new talent?
Look, I think there's a lot of good guys in telly, right? There's a lot of good guys, and I kind of feel they are the real ones that are kind of, I can see now, like people like Babita at Channel 4, Victoria Roy at Channel 4, you know, they're kind of people I deal with day to day who put people forward and literally will put names of talent right under my noses when I get a commission. But again, like Adil just said, you know, Facebook, when I used to be on it, was really good for like kind of job job notifications. There are loads of sites out there, but also help each other out, right? You know what I mean? You know, the best thing, the most strongest thing, you know, and I sound really corny saying this, but is your peer-to-peer network, right? If you're a runner, you're going to know other runners, right? And if you get offered a job that you can't take, you put them forward, right? Or you spread the love, because it does pay it forward. And the amount of jobs I used to get when I was a freelancer because somebody put me forward, or I put them forward because I couldn't do that job, I think it's so important, and you should never ever forget that. And as you progress, you should always be looking out for your brothers and sisters in this industry, right? And when you do hear of a job, let people know. And I used to find that was probably my greatest job kind of source, was people going, oh, so and so's looking, I'll put your CV forward, or vice versa. And it's so, you know what, I think that for me is one thing I look back on when I look back on my time, especially starting, and I never used my peers as much as I should have done. I didn't know that, you know, that we were there to help each other out, because I think sometimes you're not really told that, you know what I mean? As was said right at the beginning, no one tells you how to do this industry. No one tells you how to navigate through this minefield that is, or because all we all really want to do at the end of the day is have a job, right? And work on something we really enjoy. That's it, really, at the basis of it. And you know, I remember when I first became a freelancer, I didn't even have a CV. Somebody had to sit me down and help me write my CV, because I didn't know you did that. I didn't know you sent your CV out to, as stupid as it sounds now, I didn't know. And somebody had to sit me down. And like I said, as I started to kind of work and navigate my round through television, it was about kind of being open with your peers and being able to talk to them openly, and also share your fears, but also share your kind of your knowledge, i.e. everything from how to shoot right through to there's a job going here, I think you should apply. I definitely think we should use that more.
I'm going to agree with Harji there. I think one of the biggest fallacies we have in this industry is that it's all cutthroat competition, and I think we really need to, you know, just completely flip that mentality, because if you think about it, the shows that we make, they rely on all of us coming together. And yeah, look, you're going to be out of work for a month or two, and you know, we've all been through that in the freelance world, but you know, there is room for everybody here, and I think we want to make sure that, you know, a good idea can come from anywhere. Talent does shine through that cooperative principle that we need to operate from, because, you know, we are, as freelancers, we do need to look after each other, exactly as Harjeet says. And I think the quicker we realise that, the happier.
I think it is all about community. I can see
it's absolutely gets on my nerves and really gets me angry when people go, oh, aren't you a bit too nice for telly? It's fucking bollocks, right? And I really hope that everybody on this who's now going to be progressing up, I hope they don't take that notion that, oh, are you too nice for TV? Because it's a load. An exec once said that to me, and I just remember thinking, God, do you tell your children that? Like, it's absolute, you know, you have to be nice, because I wouldn't hire some absolute egomaniac to go and talk to contributors. Would I? Hell, right?
Senior clients will always say it's about who you want to be stuck in the submarine with.
Yeah. Exactly. Do you know what?
People you want to work with in your team are the people you want to hang around with and spend time with. I can see a lot of questions building up, and I kind of want the audience to be able to lead this discussion for the last part of it. So just sort of one final question from me. In terms of you know, broadcasters, indies, everybody has had their own responses. You know, as you guys, you know, pretty much unanimously said up top, actually the industry has responded incredibly well. There's a lot of reasons to be positive. I mean, one of the best things I heard was that actually as the world, not just the UK or Europe or North America, as a world, we consumed about 2 years of content in 3 months. So there is a huge need for content out there and a huge need for freelancers to make it. But, you know, what do you think can still be done to create a more stable environment for freelancers? Adil, can I come to you? Because this is very much the work of the Coalition for Change, isn't it?
Yes. So for people out there who don't know what the Coalition for Change is, it's the result of a lot of campaigning, basically, and David was on one of our panels actually that led up to it, that basically highlighted all the issues that came out of freelance working during this crisis, and got broadcasters and key stakeholders to sign up to a working group that talks about this and tries to improve freelance working practices, which isn't going to happen overnight. But I think the key thing really is listening. I mean, that's the thing that has gotten this coalition off the ground. And I would say this to employers, I would say to freelancers, I would say to broadcasters. When I first started this campaign, the chasm between broadcasters and freelancers was just so big, people didn't know what was going on the ground. But we're now in the position, as we've said repeatedly on this call, is that this world has become smaller. We are all way more connected. We're all talking to each other. But I think it's also, we've had a platform, and I would, say for me, for everyone in this room, that it's just to listen as well. Listen to what is going on out there. Listen to the problems that people are facing, whether they are, whether it's a person of color, somebody who's intersectional, someone transgender. Certainly, the vision of the coalition is to make this industry open and accessible to everyone, whether they look like us or not. And I think that's the key thing. Again, whether it is, a fellow freelancer of yours who might be going through a difficult time, they're acting a little bit, different to usual. Just keeping an eye out, listening as a broadcaster, again, as an indie, as an employer, just looking at those environments, looking at people's behaviors, treating people as people is the notion we put forward is people first, not productions first. Our duty is towards each other, is towards the people. And these are the people, these are the voices that make the program. So without them, we're nothing.
And speaking of their voices, let's open it up to some of their voices. So in no particular order, I'm just going to go through some of these. Can new graduates not in the industry yet apply for junior roles at the moment? Hattie, do you want to give me your thoughts on that?
So, sorry, what was the first bit of that?
Can
the
graduates or new entrants, I guess, not in the industry yet, apply for junior roles?
I think it depends on, it depends, sorry, this is very obvious. It depends what the job advert says and what's the requirement of the specific job advert. But I would echo what we've said before, which is, rightly or wrongly, at the moment, still one of the best ways of forging your career is to get your CV out to as many places as possible, and because let's take Glow Up for example. We have 8 runners on that. They will need various different levels of experience. Some of those runners will need some technical ability or to be over 25 and drive or whatever, but there's certainly some that will need absolutely no experience at all. And so if you've emailed me, for example, I would put you forward. If I liked your CV or you showed a passion for our shows, maybe you've even mentioned Glow Up. I mean, I'm just using this as an example. So I think don't ignore what is specifically written on a job ad.
And see where that overlap.
But as a graduate with no, you just need to get yourself out there as much as possible. Look out for opportunities, obviously, and there will be adverts out there that are fine for you to, for jobs for you to apply to. But I think probably your way forward is networking, Facebook groups, just contacting as many people as possible.
And if I can just stay with you, Hattie, for one more, this is sort of slightly more specific. For those wanting to step into junior roles, I want to go into post, but just want to get started on set as a production or floor runner. Is it best to contact talent managers directly and speculatively rather than waiting for jobs to come up? I'm based in the Midlands and have struggled to find junior roles that don't require, say, a car, which I haven't been able to afford, but can travel and can be put up in accommodation. I'm not sure about the last bit, but really, is it best to contact talent managers directly, or should they be waiting for jobs to come up?
No, definitely. You can't rely on all jobs being advertised, which we're trying to change, obviously, and that's a huge amount of work that Adil's been doing, and we need to advertise more. But certainly not everything is advertised. So no, you can't wait for jobs to kind of be advertised. You still have to kind of get yourself out there, make those contacts, as we've been saying, kind of land in that inbox at the right moment. It is a huge amount of luck. And the more people that you email and get in touch with, the more likely, the more you improve your luck.
You improve your luck, basically.
You make your own luck a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. David, one for you. I'm a screenwriter not connected to anyone in the industry. I have a job which pays the bills that's not connected to the industry, but I would love for that job to be in film or TV. What freelance positions do you think I could apply for that might help me to build a network, get a foot in the door?
It's a good question. It's actually a bit of a, if I'm really brutally honest, this is a tough question to answer, because if you want to be a writer, then your route into the industry is very different to if you want to be a script editor, or if you want to be a producer or a director, because if working within the industry, historically, there's exceptions to every rule, but it's not really the route to becoming a writer. Like, if you want to be a writer, then what you need to do is you need to write. And if you have a job that is already paying the bills, but is unconnected to the industry, disconnected, weirdly, you're no further away from being a writer within the industry than you would be if you were a runner on a drama, for instance. Admittedly, you can see some of how it's put together, etc., etc., etc. But actually, the job of being a writer is very different to the job of being a runner on set. So my advice to that person is to keep writing, to look at all of the other various schemes that people like the Writers' Room do. There's another one that always escapes me and it will come back to me, but to look at those kind of writing schemes and to write and to submit your work and to try and get it seen. And also, just like, if you love it, it's difficult under COVID terms, but to make short films, you can do, we all have cameras, so you can write, you can make it, you can try and put on a small play somewhere. These are the things that will build your writing CV enough for an agent or somebody like that to look at you seriously, or for you to have a body of work that might get you onto a writer's room scheme or onto one of the continuing dramas. But yeah, so my advice to that person is to not look for a job per se in TV, although I wouldn't say definitely don't, but to definitely keep writing.
Right. Good.
Sarah, can I just add as well? Can I just add one thing, which is something that the person who asked that question is, look, and don't let the fact that if you don't work in TV, or you don't know anyone working in TV, put you off. I didn't know anybody who worked in TV when I entered, right? I come from like a normal family in Bradford. My mum works in a factory, so don't ever let the fact that, oh, I don't know anyone in TV, or I'm not from London, put you off. Like, if anything, you should be coming into TV because of that. You should be bringing your voice in, and I think that's really important. Like, as daunting as it is and as tough as it is, don't let the fact that just because you don't, your best mate's dad is an exec, put you off. Like, keep trying, keep emailing Hattie, the talent managers, watch programs that you love and email that exec and tell them, because 99% of us in TV like to be flattered, right? I know I do, right? So if somebody sends me a CV and goes, oh my God, I loved your program, of course I'm going to pay attention, right? Obviously, don't let it go over the top and start sending it to everyone. But you know what I mean? Like, you don't let the fact that you don't know anyone in television put you off, because by God, we can't have all of his ex-sons and daughters working in telly. We just can't. So yeah, please.
Surnames as famous people in telly already.
Yeah. Oh my God, I worked with somebody who grew up in number 11 Downing Street, and I grew up in a council estate in Bradford, right? How do you compete with that? I was like, you can't compete with that, right? But you have to, wherever you're from in the UK, if you want to work in telly, just don't give up. Just don't give up on it.
Go for it. Adele, quick question. Should junior talent not yet working in the industry join Beck to unions, etc., or wait until more financially stable?
I think if you're not in the industry right now, I don't think there's perhaps a benefit. I think it's one of those things that a union will help you when you're in the industry. And I know there's a lot of work being done to strengthen the union so that eventually it should become the sort of place, especially in unscripted. I mean, it depends. There's different branches. You've got scripted, and that's quite robust there. But certainly for unscripted, which is what I work in terms of entertainment and things, and factual as well, we are working to make sure that it becomes a sort of place as soon as you do enter the industry and get your first credit that you should join at a level, and it's a price that you can afford. But just like the rest of the industry, it is still, a work in progress. And I certainly think anyone who's sort of at researcher and beyond, I think, yes, definitely. I think that at the minute I think this industry as well is about us helping ourselves as well. And that means in a number of ways. One is that, you have to make sure that you can, give yourself the best chance possible in terms of, supporting yourself. And BEC2 gives you legal help. It gives you, and that is expensive if you're not a union member. So if you do have a work dispute or anything like that, they will be there to help you. And also, when I say help yourself, I mean, the other thing I always say to people is that the people who work in TV, at whatever level, if I'm employing a researcher or someone, I'm not a mind reader. So I would encourage people to also tell me what they need. So if I'm working with somebody who needs to go off to therapy once a week, or who has a disability that I need to make an allowance for, I'm not going to know that until you tell me. And I would much rather you tell me than you suffer in silence. And I think, again, this is the sort of culture that we are encouraging. Obviously, there's protected characteristics that, you can't discriminate against. And again, BEC2 can help you with that as well. So yeah, my thing is just to use whatever's out there. There's a film and TV charity help and support line. They've got resources. Do whatever you can, as you would in any other industry, to make sure that your future and your mental health, your well-being is secure.
Brilliant. Harjeet, another one for you. What's the best way to get into commissioning?
It's a really, really good question. I'm still sometimes surprised I'm still in this job, to be honest. Look, I think it's just work. It's just kind of working on. I actually don't know how is the best way to get into commissioning. So look, I was really lucky, right, in the sense that Channel 4 opened an office in Leeds. I'm from Bradford, as I said before, and they were looking to recruit commissioning editors up here to start working with Northern Indies and Indies in Scotland. And there was they opened the job. It was an application. I had a chat with Danny Horan, my boss, and then I applied, and I genuinely, hand on my heart, never thought I'd get it, and I got offered it. And having been a freelancer for so long and progressed through, actually one of the reasons I took it, and I really hope these words don't come to bite me when I leave commissioning, but I really wanted all those things that I didn't like about the industry. I wanted to try and change them, like what the work that Adil's doing about mental health, being able to talk about that, being able to give people a break, being able to support indies and try and champion the ideas that I wanted to make, and I thought it was a really good opportunity to do that. And I really kind of was thinking, do you know what, if I can give that SP a break or give that PD a break, then I know at least that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do it. So in terms of how I became a commissioner, how I got into that role was, I think, because of that, and that's what I felt was really important, but also I think I just built up a CV by working on stuff that I wanted to do. And I know I make it sound really easy. It bloody wasn't. And, like everyone, I had times when I was out of work and times when I wanted to leave the industry, but ultimately I kind of, I genuinely think this is a fantastic industry that we work in. And yeah, it's tough, and yeah, it's hard, and by God, it's been horrible this year. But it does get better, and it does, and it is good. And all those bad jobs that we have, I don't think, I think it's about remembering that they are just one job. They are just one job. And actually, do you know what? When you do have, the other thing you should always remember, I think, is sometimes when you don't get that job, it's probably like, sometimes you'll find out it was probably for the best. Like, you find out who worked on it and it was actually quite not that great. And it's about that resilience, which I think you're right, Sarah. It's not brought from Sainsbury's at all, and it does take time. And I don't think I'm the most resilient person, but it's about persevering sometimes and just knowing that you really love this industry and why you want to work in it.
Absolutely. Okay, let's try and whistle through a few more of these.
Can I
Hattie?
just really quickly
Hattie.
clarify on the commissioner point, just in case, because I don't know what knowledge people have, but just to clarify on the commissioner point, that is a role that you go into once you've been a programme maker and you've reached, say, senior PD, series producer, exec level. Commissioners come in at different points, but just, you can't, there's nothing you can do at entry level to become a commissioner.
Yeah, sorry, was that the point of the question? Sorry, I kind of went off on a rant.
I don't know, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, you have to kind of work your way through.
Might have been the senior producer asking us. I don't know.
Yeah. Nice one, Hattie. Well done.
In scripted, I mean, it is true that, normally like the senior commissioners will have been program makers. In scripted, they do have development teams, so they do have readers, they do have script editors, so you can, if you want to do that route as opposed to working, as a program maker, as a drama maker, then that is something that you could do. But it's the same thing. Everything, I think almost the rule of thumb for everything that we've been talking about here is with broadcasters, which is where commissioning teams are, like they do tend to advertise on their websites. But the other thing to do is to email drama commissioners and to talk about things that that they've commissioned and to ask for a coffee. And take it from there.
And the other thing I should say, Sarah, just I promise I won't go on a rant this time, right? Is because you're all starting in this industry, the majority of you are, just learn how to walk first before you run. And what I mean by that is, right, I was an AP for like 6-7 years, and people I knew were becoming series producers, and one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was work with really good people on good things. And whether that you might be a researcher, but you might be a researcher on a BAFTA award-winning single, right? There's no shame in that. Don't it's not a competition. It's not a competition, guys, right? Take your time, learn your craft, whether that's as a runner, a researcher, an AP, or whatever. Every genre has a different pathway. Entertainment is very different to docs, which is very different to drama. But just take your time. It's the best piece of advice I ever got.
The other thing I'd say as an agent is don't spend your life, also for your own mental health, comparing yourself to others.
It's you're on a one, a sprint. It's a one-way ticket. It's a one-way ticket to just ruin. Like,
absolutely.
just be, just work on things that you really love and work with people that are going to really like invest in you and develop you. And that might just be for that one gig. I'm not talking they're take you on and you go on and on work on this in the same company, but don't think I need to be a producer in a year's time, because also as a series producer, if I saw that CV and went, oh my god, they went from a runner to a producer in a year, I'm probably not going to call them, because I'll be like, well, what have they done? What have they really learned? Just take your time, really learn and meet good people and work with good people.
And with that resilience as well that Harjeet was talking about, I just want to say on the subject of mental health is that what goes really well hand in hand with that is hope. People like me and Harjeet and David and Hattie, we're not the exception anymore. Like that's, we have been here and we are, doors are opening. And look, I'm going to be honest, there's nothing special about me at all. Honestly, sit with me for longer than an hour, you'll realize that. But, we made it. We have made it, and there is room for people. So just say, don't lose that hope. We have that process. I've been in this industry 12 years. I'm sure that people here have been here longer, but you can get there for sure.
Yeah. Oh my God, the amount of times I finished a job going, well, that's my career done, right? Because the job was so bad or so horrific, and you're like, brilliant, but it's only ever that job. It's only ever that job, and then you start again, and it's a clean slate, and you learn from that job. It just goes on like that.
Let's see if we can fit a couple more questions in. So, David, how do you approach someone in the industry if you want to pitch something rather than joining a team or a production?
It's a really good question. I'm always one for honesty, and it depends on the production company, because every production company is different. Ultimately, most of the production companies that I've worked at, like, we don't really accept unsolicited things that haven't come from an agent or a producer, and that is there. I always wince and sort of groan even when I say it, but it is there really to protect everybody. There's so many things in the zeitgeist or in the ether. There's like, I was talking about a Catherine the Great project that Helen Mirren was in, and there's also The Great, which is a Hulu project. And it's like, why all of a sudden are people making TV shows about Catherine the Great when there was nothing before? And it's like, so that, you know, everything's out in the ether, so it's always there to protect us. So I would say that if you're looking to pitch something, you should first find a producer who has contacts within the industry. It's not the most helpful for somebody who doesn't have any of these things, but just honestly, that's just the way it works. And get yourself recognized by an agent as well, and then take it from there.
Thank you. Hattie, there's a question about moving from being a researcher to an AP and how to know when to do that. And then, is it a problem if you need to move back down again because you're not getting the work?
Yeah, funnily enough, I had this exact chat with one of our researchers this morning. I think that, like Harjeet just said, there's no rush. So think about what's your motivation for wanting the AP credit. Is it because you're feeling like everyone around you, or like you should be doing it, or you're in a rush? So I suppose just examine that first. Being a researcher for 2 years is very standard. Longer. I was a researcher for 5 years. So examine your motivation first for wanting to do it. If you feel like you've been doing an assistant producer role on a show, I think you should speak to your exec about that. There's plenty of sort of situations where actually somebody ends up stepping up or just ends up doing the AP role, and actually I think any kind of exec or series producer worth their salt will then allow you to have that credit and put that on your CV, but you do need to discuss that with them before you do it, obviously. And then in terms of stepping up, I always just recommend that if you really feel like you're ready for it and you really want to do it and you're kind of pushing for it, there's no right or wrong, but I quite like a very short paragraph at the top of your CV, and it's there and in your cover note where you can just put, you know, these are my skills, and, you know, looking to expand my career or looking to move into senior researcher / assistant producer roles or something like that, just to communicate to anyone who has your CV that you feel that's where you're heading. And it kind of gives them the nudge and just kind of puts it out there that you feel confident that you can take that on. I'm not sure what else you can really do apart from kind of putting it out there, requesting it. You know, I suppose if you go for an interview, you can ask, you know, I know this is a research role, are there any AP opportunities? I think it's a hard one. It's just about pitching the tone right so that you're not being, I mean, we've had somebody who was very overly pushy and ambitious about the AP credit, and then actually we gave it to them and then they didn't really deliver on it. So you do have to, yeah, and actually looking back, they were sort of really far too pushy about it. So it's really hard, I know. It's a really hard one. Every step up is hard, from runner to researcher to AP to DV director or PDing or whatever. It's always difficult, and I think people always feel frustration. I really remember that well. I was an AP clearly doing a producer role for about a year, and then I just said, can I have a producer credit? I've been doing it. So you have to be a bit bold, and it's horrid, kind of awkward conversations sometimes, but I think, yeah, sorry, that's a very waffly answer. But first, yeah, check that you definitely feel you're ready for it, and then you just kind of have to slightly champion yourself and just ask for it and be bold. And the most that somebody will say is no, but I think most of the time, actually, if you've genuinely been doing the job, people will credit you.
Oh, and it might be no now, but it might be yes in 6 months' time or on the next month. Anyway,
and it's a series as well. It's a project as well, isn't it? It could be a big returner, like, for example, A&E. You might, if you're working on 24 Hours in A&E, you know that's coming back. It could be you think, okay, I'll work on that for a year as a researcher, you know, knowing, and then you start putting in the groundwork. So it's just thinking about the project as well.
Yeah.
Okay, sadly at 6:45 I am going to have to draw this to a close. There are lots of other good questions out there, but we've just run out of time. I think one of the audience sums it up better than I can. This is not a question, but I cannot tell you how grateful I am for this session. Thank you so much. So inspiring and refreshing. And I think that absolutely sums it up from me as well. So to Hattie and to Adil and Harjeet and David, thank you so very, very much for your time, your wisdom, your insights and your honesty. A tiny bit of housekeeping on behalf of BAFTA, just to tell you that tonight's panel is part of a month-long programme of events, and full details are on the BAFTA website. Upcoming TV events include on Tuesday the 19th, a factual storytelling in TV, and on Wednesday the 25th, we'll be joined by the team behind the Sky original drama Bulletproof. So lots of great stuff to look forward to. Good luck to every member of the audience, and I'm sure our paths will all cross in the future. Thank you to you fantastic guys, and enjoy your evening, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good
Sarah.
luck. Good luck. Thanks, Sarah.